Let's continue in our tutorial series on Adobe InDesign CC. If you're new to Adobe InDesign, you can see how it's a lot more specific than maybe Illustrator or Photoshop. Layout designers really get into the math of things. They make sure their grid's perfect, their columns perfect, their typography, everything lines up great. It's very, very exact. It can be very different from more free-form type of design, maybe in Illustrator and Photoshop. So we are working on being exact. So I'll point certain things out as we go along. We have our document set up. We have custom margins and a custom grid. I'm going to pop open Pages here. And you can see we have been working on the master so that this grid and column, if I were to switch to different pages, our grids and everything show up there. But I want to be back on the master. We are going to do the folio. All right. So magazines, if you're unfamiliar, I know high school students don't spend a lot of time looking at magazines. They're not as popular as they once were. But at the bottom, in this bottom margin down here, you would typically have a folio that would tell you name of the magazine, page number, publication date, maybe some other information. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my zoom tool over here on the left, and I'm going to zoom in right down here, and then I'm going to hold spacebar to get my little hand just so I can see this bottom area so we can work on it. We want to make sure, double click, that we're on a master. You can see it down here, a master. We want our folio to repeat on all of our spreads. I'm going to start with my type tool right here, T for type, and I'm going to draw out a text box that goes from the left margin to the right margin. All right. I should also make sure that I'm on master elements. All right. I can even lock these other ones for now. I am on master elements. That's really important. Making sure that my folio is on the proper layer. All right. So I'm going to come down here and oops, don't know why that text box didn't draw. So let me undo that. Let's try that again. And I'm going to draw that out there. All right, there we go. For our typeface, if we come up here to the top, we have this options bar, and you can see A for character formatting controls. We're going to format our typeface. I'm going to hit the down arrow. We're going to use a serif type font, one that has some little feet on it. Let me see, in this particular one, I don't know what we're going to use. Scroll through, look through a couple of these really quick. Scrolling through. So we're going to use this same as our body copy. That's why we want this serif font. Serif font's a little bit easier to read. Actually, let's try, let me see here, hold on. Rockwell is technically a slab serif, but let's try it. Just try something different. I'm going to do Rockwell. Up here, this right here, if you roll over the symbol, if you don't know what this is, roll your mouse over, let go, it will tell you. This is our font size. The font size that we are going to use for our spreads, 9.5 points. And if I roll over this one, it is leading. That is our line spacing. Fancy technical term for line spacing is leading. If you've been paying attention, I kept mentioning it while we were setting up our gutters and margins. And we're going to have our leading at 11 points. Now that I think about it, though, I want our folio to be a little bit smaller than our body copy. So I'm going to make that 8.5. All right, so we got 8.5. I'm going to hit tab to set it. Now, what do we want to insert right here? We want to insert page number. You don't type like page number 1, right? You want the software to automatically insert. If you notice, we're on the master, right? So we want this to repeat and to automatically put in page number 2, 4, and 6. So with the cursor flashing here on the left-hand side, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to insert a special character. And you can see here are copyright symbols, stuff like that. We want technically, or not technically, but we want to come under markers and we want to insert current page number. All right, and you're going to see an A right there because we're on the A master template, just saying that we're going to put page number there. Now, if you've been typing in a Word document and you're used to word processing, lots of times if you want to skip a large space, like you want to indent at the start of a paragraph, you'd hit tab. In desktop publishing, it is very, very different from word processing. Spacing and all that, very different from whatever your English teacher might have taught you. The standard for indents and other types of spaces is called an M space, which is roughly the size of a letter M of whatever typeface you're using. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert special character or white space and Shift Command M for an N space. N space is a little smaller, it's an N, but the standard is M space. And that is going to bump us over. And we're going to put this as our magazine title. All right, our magazine title. When you're working on your own project, you're going to come up with a magazine title. I'm just going to leave it at that for now as a default. I'm going to hit, let's see, where do I want to go? I'm going to leave that for now. We might come back and add in a publication date, but right now we'll just do page number and magazine title. So that gives us a pretty good setup. If we look at our layers, you notice that's on our master elements. We're not going to do anything else on our master elements at this moment, so I'm going to lock that back up. I'm going to unlock text and images because we'll be working with those in a future tutorial coming up. Come back up to pages. I can zoom out, Command 0, get my selection tool here, hold the space bar and kind of see where we're at. Get us back to a good starting point like that. And then in the next set of tutorials, we'll learn how to do wireframing and setting our layout, putting in some placeholder dummy text, and creating character and paragraph style.